Welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. And now, let's get sketchy.
Hello there, everyone. Matt here with thevirtualinstructor.com, and welcome to Gettin Sketchy Live, the greatest live broadcast in all of YouTube. I'd like to welcome all of you guys from around the world. I see the chat boxes filling in. I hope everybody is doing great this evening. It's definitely a lot warmer here where we are, but it rained. It's rained for the last few days, and I think the rain's finally out of here. But anyway, it's been kind of a dreary day, so what better than to make that dreary day a little bit happier than to watch Ashley create a drawing for us. For those of you who don't know, what we do here on Getting Sketchy is either myself or Ashley, we try to create a drawing for you inside of 45 minutes, have a timer up and everything. We do all that live for you to watch us in our distress as that timer clicks down. But it's a lot of fun, and we'll also try to sprinkle in some art instruction with that as well. Like I said, Ashley's going to be doing the drawing tonight. How are you doing this evening, Ashley?
Doing well, Matt. Thank you for asking. I hope you folks are doing well at home. I am feeling a little bit of distress. Looking at my reference, I'm excited about it, but I'm a little nervous about it too. So we'll talk our way and work our way through it together.
Yeah, and I'll be sitting over here watching it all go down. And I'll also be watching the chat box. If you are watching this live, there is a chat box on YouTube. You can, of course, post comments and questions. If you do have a comment or question that's directed at Ashley or I, we ask that you use the super chat function, which will get your comment or question prominently displayed on the screen, and also goes a long way to help our channel out. So I do appreciate if you do that. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell so you're notified when new videos like this go live or when I post new videos. And give this video a like if you like it. And if you're watching the recorded version of this, about an hour from now or so, you can leave a comment in the comment section below as well. And if you want to take your drawing and painting skills to another level, then you need to head over to thevirtualinstructor.com. We've got a variety of drawing and painting courses, and we do weekly live lessons, all on a variety of drawing and painting media and subject matter. Pretty much every drawing and painting media that you can imagine, and every subject matter is covered there probably several times over. There's so much content there. And we also do weekly critiques as part of the Members Minute. And there's also a year-long curriculum for visual arts teachers that includes absolutely everything you need to teach. Honestly, if you were a teacher, you could walk into your classroom and just bring up one of the lesson plans that we have, and then you can just kick back and walk around and help students out. All of that is included in the membership program. There's a link in the description below if you want to check that out. Everyone starts out with a week-long trial for free, so you can see if the program's right for you. And beyond that, we also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Now, I've got to tell you, we do the live lessons, but I've added some new stuff over there, and I'm going to continue adding some new stuff to our live section of the website. In fact, I've added what I'm calling TVI TV. The TVI stands for the Virtual Instructor. TV stands for television. But I am going to be live streaming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I'm putting some selected premium content that's usually only for members, on that live stream for 24 hours, 7 days a week. And I will change it every month. It's not the entire lesson series, for example. It's not the entire course, but you'll be able to catch a lesson here and there from the courses and the classes. So you can go check that out if you want. Just go over to thevirtualinstructor.com and click on the live option in the main menu. And I've also got a page dedicated to Getting Sketchy. In fact, if you could go over to the website right now, click on the live button, and you would see Getting Sketchy being broadcast there. Now, there isn't a chat box like we have here on YouTube, so if you'd rather stay around for the chat, that is available for you here only on YouTube. But those things have been added, and of course, you can click through all the different options on our live page, including the live classes that we do each week, and we'll continue to do those as well. Now, on that note, I also need to tell you that next week we will do Getting Sketchy, and we'll do the live lesson that follows. But that will be the last broadcast that we do of 2024 because the week after that is Christmas, and then the week after that is New Year's Day. So Christmas and New Year's Day it falls on a Wednesday this year. So we're going to spend time with our friends and family, and I hope you do the same. So next week will be the last broadcasts of 2024. All right. Ashley, do you have anything else before we get into this?
I don't think so. We'll go ahead and click over and take a look at our materials. They'll be familiar to some of you, but not everybody. So we want to talk about them a little bit, and then we'll get into it.
All right, we'll switch on over now. And that is the wrong camera.
Oh my gosh, Matt.
All I gotta do is push the right button.
We're only in 3 minutes into the show, and you showed me looking like a ghost over here.
Well, you look like a good ghost. So anyway.
The friendly ghost. Ashley, the friendly ghost.
Yeah, honestly, I know I keep talking about the buttons all the time, but there's probably 30 or 40 buttons in front of me. Right. And I could push the wrong button at any time. Anytime. All right, take it away, Ashley.
All right, let's see. So I am working on a slanted surface. That's what this tape roll is for. It's just to hold our tools, but I will be using Copic sketch markers, alcohol-based markers. They have a chisel tip on one end. You may or may not be able to see that small icon, and then a brush tip on the other. And I have 5 of those. So they are, well, I don't know if they'll all stay up here. There we are. One of them's got charcoal on it, so hopefully the other side isn't making our paper dirty already. But actually, I don't know if that's charcoal and ink. I'm a little nervous. But in any case, there's 5 of them in basically a value scale. They go from very, very light gray down to a dark gray, but not black. So that's what I'm going to do most of the drawing.
I got to interrupt right now.
Go ahead.
Because we've got Bill Nickel. And it says, hello from Advance, North Carolina.
Well, come on over, Bill.
Bill, you're literally feet from us. You are so close. And Sharon's in Clements.
I know.
It's also very close.
Locals.
But Advance is really close.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt
Well,
you.
nice to meet you, Bill.
Yeah.
And I also have a blender. It is a Winsor & Newton blender, and we'll use it just to soften some of our edges. There's gradations, but there's also some soft edges in this composition. So we're going to be breaking out the blender a little bit. It's a colorless marker. And I will use a regular old black Sharpie at the very, very end, just a little bit. I'm sorry, not the very end, just the end. At the very, very end, we're going to break out some white medium, probably, and I'm going to use a white charcoal pencil tonight, just to add a few light details that are so small, so narrow, so thin, that we'll probably lose them were we try to save them using the white of the paper while we build up our application of markers. Besides those materials, I do have, of course, a kneaded eraser, because we're going to start with a pencil. And my pencil's relatively light. It's an F pencil. I doubt you can see that F. There we are. It's an F pencil, which is very close to an HB or a number 2 pencil. So those would be fine to use also. And then I do have kind of a little detail eraser. Just it's a plastic eraser or white nylon eraser in stick form. So that makes up the bulk of our tools tonight. We will be keeping this in grayscale, and I think that's all with regard to our materials. If anybody has questions about the materials, please ask. Besides the mark making materials, our surface tonight is 6.5 inches wide by 5 inches tall, and it's very smooth. It's actually marker paper. It kind of feels like Bristol board. It's very smooth, but we won't be building up much white charcoal over our markers, so we don't really need much tooth. I think it'll still be sufficient for the application of that second medium. So that's about it. Besides that, I have gone ahead and made a few marks. I've been sight measuring a little bit, so I made a few marks out on the tape just to start preparing for our pencil application, our contour drawing. And I was specifically, I'll just let you know before we begin the timer, because once that timer starts, it's going to be a mad dash to the end. I've measured what I believe is the width of the ellipse of the glass that we're going to be drawing tonight right here. And I've compared that to the empty space to its left, and then also the remainder of the glass. We're really going to start by drawing a cylinder. to the ellipse's right. So that's what these marks are for. There's no grid or anything like that. What I did was just sight measured with my pencil and my thumb, in front of my reference, how wide the ellipse was, and then about how that would divide into some of those other spaces. So we're going to build everything off of the initial ellipse that we start with at the front of our glass, which, like I said, we're going to just think of it in the beginning as a cylinder. All right, and I see a question there from Buddy. Are you working from your own photo? Looks very unique. It is, but it's not my own photo. So I think it's a great photo. And I was talking to Matt before the show. The liquid spilling out of the glass looks thicker than the glass itself. The width of the glass. It looks like mercury to me. So I'm glad I didn't take this picture because it looks dangerous.
I bet it's water.
It's probably just water.
Yeah, I doubt. Yeah. I don't doubt you can get your hands on that much mercury.
I don't want my hands to ever touch mercury. So, or anybody else's for that matter. But,
right.
So it's not spilled milk, but it's something spilled nonetheless. I think that's about it. Are there any more questions, or are there any questions about materials, Matt?
No, just it seems like there was some confusion as to what mediums we were working with, but you just covered that.
Marker, pretty much almost all marker with just a little bit of white charcoal, and that could be another white medium used at the end. And I'm going to use charcoal. You could try a very soft colored pencil. A touch of possibly pastel would work too, particularly if it's in pencil form. All right. I think that's it. I think we're ready to start drawing.
All right. Are you ready for the timer?
I'm ready to start drawing, but go ahead and bring up the timer.
All right. 45 minutes on the clock starts right now.
All right. So we talked about beginning with the ellipse, so that's what I'll do. And based on those initial marks that I made, I'm going to go ahead and box out an area, and then we'll work up an ellipse and then decide where we went wrong and make adjustments to our proportion before moving on to the rest of the glass. So let's see how our ellipse might fit into this this rectangle. I guess it's a rectangle. The glass is at a slight angle to us. So this is not a circle. It's just close to a circle. All right. I like to draw ellipses in 4 segments. There's 3. I did get an incidental mark on my paper from whatever art medium that I have gotten on the outside of my markers. And it was all over my hands earlier too. So I hope that there wasn't an explosion inside of one of those markers. We'll find out when we take the caps off. They're relatively new. In fact, this is only the 3rd drawing that I've made with them. And it's only the 3rd drawing I've made with, with these types of markers at all. So you and I are learning to use these markers together. All right, this ellipse looks a little skinny, a little narrow this way. So I'm going to have to check my measurements, and we'll compare the width of the ellipse to the empty space next to it. And I'm going to do the same now with my reference.
Yeah, it looks like the edge of the glass is further out than the halfway.
This way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stretch it out this way. Good call. So that's why it's nice to start with a light pencil, so we can make little adjustments. And I'm going to go ahead and begin a second version of this ellipse before erasing the first.
And a lot of people like to draw ellipses freehand, which I like to take my best shot at drawing ellipses freehand.
Yeah.
But there are some devices and tools that you can use to get accurate ellipses.
Oh, yeah?
Ellipses.
Where have they been all my life? I think I could use one right now.
Well, I have a lesson on that over at the website.
Right.
And it takes you through several different ways that you can ensure accuracy when you're drawing ellipses. And so you can go over there and just search for that, ellipses or ellipse. And you'll find that, and that might help some of you guys out.
Yeah,
it's a little bit more of a structure.
Video.
Yeah, well, it's I think it's a video and a written lesson, but
it's too late now.
Yeah, well, you can draw yours freehand, but for those of you who struggle with ellipses, because in my opinion, ellipses are one of the most difficult shapes to draw. Because they're so precise, but they're not a circle.
Right, they're so almost a circle, it makes them challenging.
Right.
And we'll find the center of that ellipse and stretch it out using a sort of in perspective to find the center of the back side of our glass. That may be. I think I need to stretch that out a little further still. There we go.
Well, I will say that we have really chosen some challenging subject matter this season.
Some real bangers this season. I know, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, I'm going to choose a subject matter that I can work up slowly.
So next week,
at least once this week.
Next week, I will be drawing a sphere and a cube. Just kidding.
Oh, yeah, I like the sound of that. Well, it makes it fun, though, right? The challenge.
It does, yeah.
And challenge ourselves. All right, we got a little... I think I'm good with this. I'm going to go with this as far as my glass, and there may be some adjustments made during the marker application. I'm going to go ahead and think about that little bit of an irregular shape inside our glass and how that might compare to the bottom of the glass, which we can see a little bit of here. We got a lot of distortion moving through portions of our glass. Notice where this might intersect or approximately intersect the rim, our original ellipse, and where it does is about where our liquid is coming out. Notice that this edge, this liquid's edge, kind of diverges from the edge of our table, so that can help us at least capture the relationship between those angles, even if those angles are not, if they end up entirely not accurate. That's okay. The relationship will be relatively accurate. And that liquid just spills all the way across our table. Large mess.
I was kidding about the sphere and the cube. not going to draw a sphere and a cube next week. I'll keep the challenge high next week.
All right.
I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but it'll be challenging.
Well, I'm sure it will, and it's always challenging just because of the timer.
Right. Yeah.
It adds a little something. All right, we got our spilled liquid in there in place, and of course, I've kind of felt my way through some of these lines. So in areas the contour got pretty wide, so I want to kind of narrow up some of those contours and really drill down on where those edges are going to be. Maybe not where they ought to be, but where they're going to be nonetheless. That shape that I had begun inside of my glass, the distorted shape of the table was a little large. I can see that now, so we'll make an adjustment there. Make a little puzzle piece in there. This area is one of those that's going to be receiving some white charcoal later in our process. All right, now the glass is relatively thick on the bottom, and it's just a lot of darkness back there, so it might be good to add a few more contours to the inside of our form. And there's another thicker contour that needs to be shaved down. Make some decisions there. And it's important, when you have basically cross contour lines going around a circle, it's important that they smoothly transition into the straighter sides of our cylinder. Did I say circle? I meant cylinder. There we go. We don't want this type of a line to intersect abruptly into the straighter side of the cylinder. It just kind of tapers away. All right. Now we do have a reflection, and we can use what we've already done to help us with the reflection if we like where our edges landed. Reflection may be a little bit distorted compared to the original glass. Feels like it's a little stretched. A reflection that will run through our liquid. I told Matt this looks like mercury to me, so I'll keep calling it mercury. Sure, it's safe. All right, there we go. Now there are some water droplets, both on the glass and out on our table, and we may get to those. We'll see, but I'm not going to draw them. I'm not going to draw them in. I just want to round this side of our ellipse up just a touch more. You know, this side of the ellipse is closer to us than this side by a small fraction. And so it is more rounded. I don't know that I can perceive that it's more rounded, but if it's closer, the closer half of any ellipse should be a little bigger or more round than the far half of an ellipse. There we are. We'll erase some of our guidelines. We don't need those showing through. The alcohol-based markers that we're using, they sort of stack in layers, a lot like we might work with graphite. So I'm kind of thinking about it like a grayscale, graphite watercolor. I'm thinking about it like a grayscale marker watercolor. So we're going to start light just like we would with watercolor and put in some tones, some weaker values, and then build up from there. And hopefully get close to as dark as what we can see in our reference. So I believe the drawing's in place. Oh, I am missing the other side of our rim. There we go. Reflection's a little bit weaker just because the table's so naturally dark. It's a crisp reflection, but lower contrast. There we go. Now we'll use our kneaded eraser a little bit. Warm it up some. Just like to twist it, make sure it's nice and clean on the outside. And we'll remove some of this extra graphite. Not really rubbing, I'm just kind of pushing down on it. And picking up any graphite that's loose enough to go with the eraser.
Okay, we've got a question for you. It says, Ashley, so ellipses aren't symmetrical in general, depending on the perspective, question mark?
That's right. A circle, the circle is symmetrical, but when we tilt a circle, the back edge becomes a little less rounded than the front edge. Now, it's still symmetrical from right to left, but not from top to bottom. This part is deeper or feels like it comes out a little further. And if it was tilted at an angle also, then we may not have symmetry in any direction, but that is correct. So that's the difference. That's the big difference between an ellipse and an oval. The ellipse is a little bit rounder on the front edge, or the edge that's closer to you. If it was a tire or a wheel, then this curve would be very slightly rounder or deeper than this portion of the curve. And it's a small margin. If your drawing is pretty small, you can just use an oval. Nobody's going to notice. But as your artwork gets bigger, that difference becomes more easily perceived. So, all right, let's do it. So I'm actually going to start with a relatively dark marker. Not the darkest, but it is dark nonetheless. And I think I've got marker bleeding. I think this is the one. I think it's bleeding into the cap. So hope we don't make too much of a mess or get it on our hands. And I'm going to start with some of these narrow areas that are pretty dark. And this is going to feel really dark, but in the end, we'll see that there's plenty of room to get darker.
So you're starting with darker marks instead of lighter.
Just a few, just on some of these edges and the rims where where it may actually be black in the end. Then we'll jump back to our lighter marker to start putting in what you could almost think like washes. All right, there we go. And I think we'll do a little bit of the back of our glass. Well, I'm going to go this way for just a minute. Find that intersection, and then it's pretty dark back here in the back of our glass. I'm using the brush tip right now. And of course, the alcohol, these markers, they go down a little darker than where they end up, than where they dry. There we are. That's pretty dark. Quite a bit of this area below our glass is nearly black. Then we've got the reflection on our table. I would say we can't accidentally go too dark with the base of our glass, but we can see it through the initial ellipse that we started with. Some of these areas will hopefully and eventually receive the Sharpie. Then we'll see just how light this gray is in comparison. And there's a little, almost a triangle shape up here. Okay, what else could we, guess we could hit the reflection in our liquid and below our liquid on the table. And maybe the very bottom edge of our mercury. And there we go. This brush tip's a little soft. It's kind of skipping across the table a little bit. I don't think that'll matter. Skipping across our page. Okay, that's enough darkness for now. We'll go ahead and start turning our paper a little bit with the next lightest marker. This one is I believe this one's our middle marker, our light, and then a marker that you almost can't even see on the page. So I'm going to use this one for a little bit and just get something on the paper. Some of these little white reflections that we see are light gray reflections that we can see in the side of the glass. We're going to go back and grab those with our white charcoal. So we're going to ignore those for now.
And you'll see that Ashley is following the cross contours of the glass here, making these marks.
Yeah, we can indicate some of the ripple in the glass with our cross contour shading incidentally or indirectly. Right.
This is one of those instances where the cross contour lines that you should follow are pretty strongly evident. It's not always the case.
Yeah, they're part of the artwork in this case, aren't they?
And, you know, if there weren't those little ridges or textural undulations in the glass, then you could really go vertically or horizontally. You could go, you know, lengthwise of the glass or around the width of the glass.
Yeah, they're just directing us a little bit, so that's nice to have. And
Enrique asks, hey, Matt, Ashley, is it possible to erase these markers?
no, it's not. That's why I'm a little apprehensive in the beginning and starting, you know, with some lighter values than we know that we're going to end up with. And that way it's a lot like regular watercolors.
That's okay, though. You can be a little cautious when you're working with an art medium, but it shouldn't deter you from using it. So just because a medium's not erasable doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to alter your drawing if a mistake is made. Now, Ashley's approaching this by kind of starting with darker marks and working his way to lighter marks. If you're feeling apprehensive, you might start with the areas of lighter value first. And you can cover a large portion of the surface, in this case, with a lighter marker before progressing to the darker markers. So that might help a little bit. That marker is making...
Can you hear it?
The most ridiculous sound. Oh my gosh. It is
so squeaky.
It is
I can't.
It is
I
going
can't
up
believe
my
how
spine.
I know, it's awful.
Oh, what a sound that
Yeah,
is.
it is pretty rough. Now, this little
Oh,
sorry,
oh my
Matt.
gosh.
I'm
Can you
sorry.
guys hear that? Can you hear the marker?
Please don't click off the video just because of the marker. So
Let
won't
us
be
know in the
using it.
chat. Can you hear the marker? Because you might not be able to hear it.
I hope not.
It is so loud.
It is very squeaky.
Is that a blender?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's the Windsor. It's the Windsor Newton blender. So a different brand. The rest of these
my
markers
gosh.
are Copics. But man, was that! I might have to leave a review. Great marker, a little loud.
Oh, we got an eek. Somebody heard it.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. You know, Jan says he can hear it. I have. It's been years since I've had that feeling you get when you hear that sound. You know, like.
Well, here it is some more.
Oh God! Why does that bother me so much?
And it's I've heard that it's the combination of high and low sounds in those squeaks or fingernail chalkboard.
Yeah.
It's like it's pitches that are clashing.
Oh
I don't know if that's true.
my gosh!
But that, oh my gosh. Oh, we've had a blowout, Matt.
No, what's happening over
Drop
there?
the marker.
Well, look, let's watch Ashley jump down to find it.
Sorry.
You didn't lose the colorless blender, did you?
No.
Shoot.
No, not that lucky. All right, let's see what we got here. Well, it's one of the two lighter grays, so I should be okay. Oh, yeah, this is our very light gray. You can see it's almost imperceptible.
Jan says he can feel that sound in his teeth.
It's reverberating.
I feel it like up my spine and the muscles of my spine. Keith asks, is it because the marker is dry?
Oh, well, I mean, it's got liquid inside. It's not dry. It's just clear alcohol, I suppose.
Well, no, he's talking about the sound that it's making, you know.
Oh, maybe it has that dry sound.
Maybe it's drying out a little bit.
It's brand new.
Oh, it's brand new. Never mind.
That's actually the first time I've used it.
Never mind. Oh my gosh.
It's something else, though. I mean, the others don't make that sound at all. So
No, there's something
very,
fundamentally wrong with that marker.
it's just strange.
Sonia says she can feel it all over her scalp.
Good gracious.
Buddy
I'm
is
sorry,
shivering.
folks.
Buddy is shivering. You know, I know they use, audio sounds sometimes as a weapon.
Well, that's one of them.
That would be a weapon
They
to
could use
use
that.
right there.
All right, I had to put all my markers back in the cup so I could tell which is which. So still just laying in some of our larger gray shapes.
Now, one thing I want to point out as Ashley's getting these values in place is a lot of times people think that transparent objects or shiny objects or metallic objects, or even with this water that's reflecting on the surface is difficult because they see a transparent object or they see a shiny surface and they're like, how am I going to communicate that in a drawing or painting? Well, I think it's a little bit easier to communicate reflective or transparent objects because of the relationships of values. You'll often find dark values or shapes of dark values right next to shapes of light values. And that high contrast that happens is what creates that illusion of reflection, whether it's a shiny surface or a glass surface or whatever. So that's an opportunity that you can, oh my gosh, that's an opportunity that you can take advantage of to make your drawings and paintings more realistic. So don't shy away from subjects like this. They are more challenging because there are lots of shapes. But if you look closely, you'll see those relationships of light and dark right next to each other. And that's where the magic happens. That's where you can really create that illusion in your drawing. It's just like stripes on shirts. People, a lot of times when they're doing portraits of people, they'll avoid putting the pattern on the shirt or on the clothing because they think that's more difficult. But those lines that you see in a pattern, whether it be a plaid pattern or stripes or whatever, they inform the viewer about the form of the shirt, the wrinkles, where it goes in and out, how it curves around the body. So those are more opportunities. That's another example of an opportunity that might seem like a challenge on the surface, and it is going to be more time consuming, but it's something that will make your drawings and paintings look more realistic if you take the time to include them. So you are at 21 minutes right now. You're making really good progress.
I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, I
feel like I need to start the timer over.
Yeah, I was thinking about working with markers next week and colored pencils. I don't know if I can do that the week after you used markers. I think I'm going to have to use a different medium next week.
I told you I might use colored pencil with it, but I decided to go with the white charcoal instead.
Brazen Hearted said, "That's it, Matt. Press a wrong button that nukes Ashley's markers."
Good one.
Unfortunately, I don't have a button for that.
All right, just trying to move fast. And
sounds like Buddy is laughing a lot at this lesson. She says, "This is a great lesson for ears. LOL, my dog is questioning why I'm laughing out loud." Well, if your dog is questioning you, then you've got something pretty fantastic on your hands there, buddy.
That's right.
You've got a talking dog. Now speaking of dogs, Ashley, you don't know this.
No. What's that?
So you might you know Sadie, the bigger dog.
Yeah.
Well, Sadie's been having some digestive issues the last few days. So my wife took her to the vet yesterday to get to the bottom of the digestive issues.
Okay.
So they did an x-ray of her stomach and said that there was stuff in her stomach.
Oh my gosh.
So they induced vomiting and one pair of panties came out.
Oh my gosh.
But that was not the end of it.
I knew that was one of her preferred treats.
Of course. And they're not clean either, of course. Anyway, so they did another x-ray and there was still a lot of stuff in there. So they said, okay, well, we're going to have to do surgery. And they brought my wife the bill. Then she called me crying. Take a gander at what the potential bill would be to save Sadie's life.
Gosh, I'm not good at that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm apparently not either.
I would say like $500.
Yeah, that seems reasonable, right?
Yeah, that's probably what the prescription costs to give her afterward.
Yeah. $6,500.
Oh no. Oh, I'm sick. Now I'm sick to my stomach.
I told Allie we could buy 12 more of those dogs.
Right.
I said if I had a car that I spent $750 for, and I had a maintenance bill for $6,000, that car would be mechanically totaled.
Right. You wouldn't be expected to fix it.
By a long shot. So anyway, that was in case they had to do surgery on the intestines. So actually, it was half that price, which I still think is outrageous. But Sadie is recovering now, and she'll be able to come home, I think, tomorrow evening. So all that happened yesterday.
Wow.
I forgot to tell you about that. But anyway, we were talking about dogs.
Yes.
And, I forgot to tell you. They removed, are you ready for this?
Yes.
6 more pairs of panties.
What? Well, that's...
Sadie had eaten 7 pairs of panties.
Have they ever seen that before? Is this common?
I don't know if that... Yeah, I think it's common, but I don't think that many.
Yeah.
So,
that is...
oh my gosh. So it has not been an excellent 48 hours, but we do have 2 excellent super chats. First is by Bear in the Garden. There's no comment there. But thank you for that, Bear in the Garden.
Yes.
And the real Dave also gives a super chat and says, my wife took me to the vet for the same thing.
Stop.
Oh, that's pretty good there, Real Dave. That's
funny.
pretty good. Now, I'll have to tell you about what my friend told me after we did the cheer here for both of those.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, guys. And Jen says your dog needs counseling, Matt. The vet said that there's some kind of nutritional deficiency in that breed of dog, and they commonly eat used pieces of clothing.
How about that?
And they don't really know what the nutritional
They've seen
deficiency is.
something like that before. Out of these dogs.
You know, I was talking to my good friend yesterday about this, and he said it happened to his dog too. And same thing, pair of panties. Okay.
Yeah. Same kind of dog?
No, his was a French bulldog.
Okay.
But it was a pair of panties. So after they knew what the prognosis was, what they had to do, my friend called the vet privately and asked the vet and said, yeah, those panties, were they a pair of thongs? And the vet said, yeah. And he said, okay, will you do me a favor and not tell my wife about it? Because she doesn't wear thongs.
Oh, no.
And he was joking about that.
Oh, okay.
But when he went in to get the dog, he didn't tell them he was joking. When he went in to get the dog, he said all of the ladies in the vet's office were giving him the death stare.
Oh, wow. They put a note in his
they
dog's
all
file.
knew what was going on.
Yeah. That is too funny.
But he told him he was joking. But
I'm glad he added that.
I can't believe he did that. I even have trouble believing that really happened.
To make a special phone call, but it's a pretty sweet joke. But if he doesn't share it with anybody like the vet, then joke's on him next time he goes in. Right?
Okay. Everybody's pretty much saying that the vet bill was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Bear in the Garden says, what? My dog had a similar issue and it only cost about $650 for surgery here in Missouri. I think we were gouged. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
It's right. Your dog is in trouble.
Right.
He's on the table. It's ready to save him. They got you.
It's kind of like this thing that's been going around. Have you heard about the pine needle scam?
Yes, I heard it from Salem Glen.
For those of you who don't know, there in this area, in the southeastern United States, it's very common for people to put pine needles, or some people call it pine straw, around their natural areas of their house. And I know that not everyone has an understanding of that. That's fine, but there are local companies that will come out and provide pine needles,
and they'll spread them for you.
Yeah, and the pine needles come in bales, and the bales have these ropes tied around them. Well, the scam is that these pine needle companies will come to your house and they'll say, we'll lay down pine needles in all your natural areas, and you have an agreed upon price per bale. Okay.
Right.
It's usually like $6 or $7, something like that. 5 or 6, 7.
Includes the spreading of the needle.
Includes the spreading, right? So what these companies have been doing, and I hesitate to call them companies, these scammers have been doing, is they'll go out and they'll spread the pine needles, and then they'll come back with like a million bale ties, indicating that they spread like an unbelievable amount of pine needles.
Yeah.
And will charge you thousands and thousands of dollars, and they won't leave until you pay.
Right.
And they'll say everybody involved knows they're lying. It's totally a scam, fraud.
They're lying.
Yeah, but buddy, a scam is fraud.
They're lying.
Everybody knows that they're lying, but they won't leave. People have made comments that they'll come back the next day. They'll keep harassing you until you pay.
Yeah, just to get, and eventually sometimes people do, just to get them out of there, or they don't know any better.
Right.
They've never spread pine needles themselves and believe it.
There is a local radio personality who was recently the victim of this scam. And he wrote them a check. He gave them a bunch of cash and then wrote them a check for the remainder so they would leave. And then he went to his bank the next day and canceled the check. And they came back to his house.
Oh, really?
And they were knocking on the windows, looking in the windows, trying to get him.
Wow.
Yeah. So wonderful world we live in, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, I do feel like we were a little bit scammed in there. I don't know why, and that kind of stuff always happens to us, but it does. And I will tell you something else. Why I'm complaining about things. At least 5 out of the last 6 times I have eaten food at a restaurant or picked up food at a restaurant, they have messed up my order.
Yeah,
I know it's shocking. I know it's shocking.
It was a few weeks ago, and I was surprised myself.
Yeah, at least 5 of the last 6 times.
Well, are you one of those people that has to have everything like on the side and slightly different from the way it comes? You just order it the way it
I'm
comes?
never like that. No, I don't order anything special at all.
Anything special? Okay.
Nothing special. I think someone has put a hex or a curse on me out there dealing with getting restaurant food. Now, I don't know if there's people out there that know spells to cast on people for that very specific thing, but I think that has happened.
It feels like it. Feels like you're being targeted.
The Real Dave says, wouldn't it be easier to buy the pine bundles and pay a neighborhood kid to spread them with a rake? That would be easier, but some houses have a lot of pine needles. Like at my house, I have to get about 120 bales to cover all of them.
Sounds like you got scammed.
No, not me. I have a reputable company that we call every year. I only do it once a year. So some people need a lot of pine needles. You can't just go to, Lowe's or Home Depot or some other place like that to buy that many pine needles, unless you have one of these huge trucks. So, yeah. So it would be easier the easiest thing to do is to go buy the pine needles yourself and spread them to yourself.
Spread them.
Which I did for years.
Yeah.
And it just becomes too cumbersome when you have that many pine needles to buy. So yeah, that would be easier. But then you have to find a neighborhood kid who's willing to work. I mean,
there's fewer.
How many neighborhood kids do you know that are go-getters and wanting to work these days?
My son will come over and do it for you. He's 14 and he's dying to get a job.
Yeah, and if I've got the
I wish I could tell you to go get a job, but I don't know if you're allowed to just yet.
It's not the spreading the pine needles that's the tough part. It is the getting of the pine needles.
Yeah,
that's the tough part. I would be glad to spread the pine needles. I like working outside. I like working in the yard. We've had a lot of rain, a lot of storms, a lot of leaves everywhere. And tomorrow, my day is dedicated to cleaning up my yard. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
not everybody likes to do that.
I love to be out there.
But it beats sitting in front of a computer reading and typing code all day. So
that's true.
I'm looking forward to doing that.
We're just stacking layers over here. Some of these grays are darker than maybe the gray that I'm working with, but they're adding up.
Yeah, the scale of values is looking pretty good. Now, you haven't got your darkest values in there yet.
No, not yet.
The darkest values
or
and the lightest values will make a big difference.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've got, we're going to eventually just have to go for it, regardless of where we're at, because we are working under a time constraint. But the values are getting there. And then we just throw those extra darks and extra lights in, and I'm hoping that we'll see a little pop.
Yeah, the darks are going to make a huge difference for sure.
Working out my gradations right now, just a little bit more. And, they do dry a little bit lighter, so I may think I'm there and then have to go back. Add a little bit more.
Did you point out at the beginning that these are alcohol-based markers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure everybody is clear on that. Water-based markers are not going to behave the same way.
This blender, is only okay. I mean, it is pretty good. And it may be because it's a different brand than the markers I'm using. But
You know, I have never found a lot of success with the blender
blenders.
markers.
Yeah.
No.
And the markers actually do a better job just using them to blend themselves, like
Right.
using one of the lighter grays.
Yeah, if you just go quickly.
Yeah, and just trying to do it like that. So, lesson learned, you know, I'm figuring these markers out along with you guys. I didn't grow up drawing with markers much, and then they've become hugely popular, so I've just been wanting to use them a little bit more as
You know, when I was
time goes on.
one of the things that made me want to learn how to draw when I was really young, my dad played basketball, and we went up to a orphanage. Grundy Mountain Mission is in Grundy, and they went up there and played basketball against some of the older orphans, you know, the high school kids. And we threw a carnival for them and everything. Anyway, there was one of the basketball players that came with our group could draw really well. He drew these characters.
Yeah.
And he used markers. And that fascinated me. And that day I decided, I want to learn how to do that. I want to be able to draw like that. And that's really when I started
How about that? That's one
drawing
of your
a
formative
lot.
memories then, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a memory.
It really is.
It's very clear. I was very young too. I was probably maybe 5 or 6 years old, maybe 7. I was very young, but I can still remember it very clearly.
All right, let's go ahead and put, let's see.
People are very impressed with what you've got on the paper
thank
so
you,
far there,
thank you.
actually.
Been moving pretty fast. All right, now you can see how dark that mark is. Probably. This is actual black. We're going to put it in a few places. Need more darker grays back there. I think we've got time for it too. Just grays.
Now that grayscale marker set you've got does not have a black, huh?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah. Just comes with that. And I guess if you put enough layers of the dark gray down, you'll end up with black. But
Now, Sharpie is that alcohol based?
I don't
water
think
based,
so.
isn't it?
Yeah. So this is, that's why I had to save it for last, because it's not going to react. I mean, one thing I noticed about the Winsor Newton blender is it also lightens that's kind of how it blends. It lightens an application. And of course I can't do that with the Sharpie. It's not going to lighten.
Now it's interesting that you opened that marker a few minutes ago, and I'm just now smelling
The
it.
Sharpie, yeah. It'll get you.
Tonight has been a night for the senses.
Right. Lots of smells and sounds.
And envisioning my dog eating 7 pairs of panties.
yeah.
Jen says Sharpies are alcohol
Oh,
based.
are they?
But they're
permanent.
a little bit different from
There's something different.
the ones
about
that we call alcohol based, if
Yeah.
they are indeed
different
alcohol
than
based.
than the drawing markers.
Because you cannot, if you had a grayscale set of Sharpie markers and you created a drawing like this, they would not behave the same way. You would not be able to put a translucent application over the top of another application to change the value and color. Okay, Buddy's got a question. When you layer the lighter colors first before using black in the end, would you be able to tell a difference? Why not using black in the first place? There's your
Well,
question.
The black is so strong, I just wanted to stay away from it in the first place. And then being that it's not alcohol based, I don't think I could lighten it with the blender. You see what I did there? There was an incidental mark there, and I've almost erased it with the blender. It's gone. It's practically gone. So the blender is, at least this Winsor Newton blender, does a pretty good job. Actually,
It must break down the
Almost like-
pigmentation.
right. It's like it's dissolving it. It's the way it blends. Different from how the markers blend against themselves. We got a little soft edge in the background. I think that's important. It makes our glass look extra crisp. Make that edge soft. And got...
And just to echo,
darker
kind of on your
places.
question there, buddy.
Yeah.
You can go in any order that you want. I prefer to work lighter to darker when I'm working with markers, just because I'm a little bit more cautious.
And I said I did, and then just
Ashley went straight to like a middle dark value.
Like, my gosh, the timer's going. Gotta get some values down here.
No, talking about the panties and the dog eating the panties. Another thing that I told my wife, I was like, well, we're going to spend all this money to save this dumb dog. I'm not meaning that I don't like the dog. I'm saying he's dumb because she's eating panties.
Yeah.
Just for her to come home and potentially eat more panties.
Right. How are you going to stop that?
Well,
the
problem, this is a deeper problem because one of my daughters went into one of my other daughter's room to borrow clothes without my other daughter being around, and left the door opened to her closet and the door open to her bedroom, thus allowing the panty eating dog to get in there and have a panty eating buffet.
I see. So it is preventable.
It is preventable, but only if my daughters can respect each other's property and living spaces.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter is graduating from college on Friday.
Oh, goodness. Well, congratulations to her and you.
Yes, thank you.
I'm excited myself.
And so she was the one that, got her room rated. So hopefully, in the next few months, she'll be out, and we won't have to worry about that kind of stuff anyway, at least from her room. I think that her room is the main area of the buffet.
Gosh. And now everybody knows it.
Okay, the real Dave says the second camera angle makes the picture look so good. What's that about?
I know.
All right, let's go back to the second camera angle. Okay. There are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cameras in use right now, and one of them is not actually on for this lesson. It'll be on for the next one. That's for the palette.
That's right.
4 of the 5 cameras are the same type of camera. And the 5th overhead camera is an older camera that I have used for many years. And it's great because it zooms in. It has a lot of features that the other cameras don't have. But the other cameras do a much better job of capturing value, contrast, and color. So eventually I will change the overhead camera to the same type of camera that I have on the others as soon as I can get the same functionality out of the overhead camera that I have. It's the same functionality out of that camera that I get from my overhead camera right now. So
you could try to make a hybrid camera and take all the pieces apart.
I don't think I have that type of technical skill. Yeah. But we have noticed it ourselves. Obviously, the camera angle that you're seeing right now is a newer camera. It's a more technologically advanced camera. It does a better job capturing the contrast and color. But yeah, that's what's up with that.
Yeah, good eyes.
This angle is more accurate to what is the true contrast in color and value compared to this one.
All right. Well, I see. I've been trying not to, but I do see that the time is up. So we'll be wrapping this one up. And I have used the white charcoal in a few places. And maybe I got a couple more places it could go. This is one of them. A little highlight out here. There we go. Do this with a colored pencil, but it's going to be a bit more challenging. A little easier with this softer white colored pencil.
All right, we've got some comments there. Great drawing, okay. Ashley. Great work. Excellent drawing. Great video. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for your comments. They're very encouraging.
Ashley says the contrast makes all the difference. Great drawing. Never would have thought about combining charcoal with a marker.
Oh, there's no rules. Now, you know, there's places I can't go now with the marker. So if you're going to combine that type of chalky dry medium, you have to really hold out. And if I were working on this, a little slower, like I'm trying to put some marks between charcoal now. It's a little challenging. I would have saved it for even later in the process, but it does have to be saved for last, or it's going to kind of mix in and make white charcoal marker mud is what we would end up with. So, all right.
And if you don't have a charcoal pencil to go over the top, you can always use one of those white ink pens, those gel pens, or you can use Posca marker, or you can use gouache.
Gouache is a great choice.
Yeah, there's lots of other options besides charcoal if you don't have that available.
Oh, I'm getting a little squeak out of the regular markers now, too. All right, let's see. Well, let's just get just a bit darker up here.
Brazen Hearted has given me permission to use markers next week if my markers are not as squeaky. They're definitely, my markers are silent. Even the blender is silent.
Marker assassins.
I'm not sure where Ashley got that marker.
I don't know. I'm going to have to make sure.
I think
it's really from Winsor Newton.
Yeah, I think it's a gag marker.
Yeah. You've been had. So, yeah.
That sounded a lot like you've got hell. You've been had.
All right. All right, there we go. All right, we're going to call this one quits, at least until our 11th program, where we revisit our creations and talk about what went well, what we might have done different. So that critique shows come.
Tear that tape. Tear that tape.
Oh, yes.
Tear that tape. Come on, guys. Chant with me. Tear that tape. Tear that tape.
I'm not ready.
Everybody now. Nobody's saying in the chat. Let's go, guys. Come on. Everybody together.
One edge.
Whoa, that was quick. That was not fearful at all.
I did tape it to my pants today.
Oh, okay.
I lost a little bit.
The pant trick.
Yeah, I did the pant trick. I did lose a little bit there. You might be able to see there's a little loose paper there on the edge.
Not too bad.
I taped them twice on my pants so that they wouldn't be quite as sticky when we pulled it off.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you.
This is some serious tape. Oh, it's 3M. So it's going to have plenty of adhesive on it. There we are.
Oh, yeah.
There's our...
Yeah, now it's finished.
Our glass of spilt mercury. And it's got a silvery mercury feel to it. I like that.
And the real Dave. Thank you. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Terry. And Ashley's still putting more stuff in there. This is one of those drawings where you could work on it literally for 10 hours.
Yeah, for hours, right? And I'm really getting into it now.
Yeah.
So we're going to go 1 extra hour tonight. And no, I'm just kidding.
This is tonight's live lesson.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right, I'm going to try to stop there.
All right. Well, fantastic job.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you drew along, but without alcohol-based markers, give them a try. Like I said, this is only my third alcohol-based drawing. And this one is, I did the tape roll, and then I did a little bit of marker work over some ink, which was a nice, easy way to wade into the world of marker drawing. But I like it. Oops, there it goes, getting away from it, spilling off the page. And I like them, and I'm going to work with them more in the future. So maybe we'll break them out next season as well. Try some other media combinations.
All right. Very good. Very good.
All right, very good.
We'll switch out over here.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching that drawing develop just as much as I did. I hope you enjoyed the banter tonight, too. The banter, if I can even say it, banter tonight. I hope I didn't gross you guys out. Talking about my panty eating dog.
It was a unique episode.
They're all unique. You know, there's
true.
always
For
crazy
different
stuff that we
reasons.
talk
That's
about. Most
Wild
of that
things.
is my fault. Anyway, next week I will be doing the drawing. And let's see, will that be the 5th episode? That would be the
this
5th
was,
episode.
this was the 4th drawing of the season.
So next week, even though next week's going to be our last lesson of 2024, we still have 5 more episodes. 6 more episodes, because we'll have 5 more drawings, and then our wrap-up show at the end of that. So that will all take place in January.
You know, man, it's become popular in streaming to release half of a season and then wait a little while and release the other half. So we're just kind of keeping up with times by splitting our season in half. And, you know, there's been a couple of programs that I watched that have done that. They said that they're going to release half the season. And I thought, isn't that just a shortened season? And then they release another season, but they're calling it one season split in half with a break. So we're keeping up with the times. We're cutting edge streamers.
Well, you know what else is kind of ridiculous that I've heard about? I'm talking about half seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like that. But there are couple generations below us.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
I have heard that they have started having half birthdays.
Like 6 months away
6
from their
months.
birthday. Oh my God.
Every 6 months, birthday, give me presents.
I will not participate in that.
I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I've
because
had enough birthdays.
It's because the attention span has grown shorter. So the idea of waiting a year to celebrate yourself,
right.
is
That's
just
too long.
It's just too much. It's
We
too
need
long.
to celebrate ourselves every day.
I think you should celebrate somebody else in your life. It feels good.
Yeah.
Pick somebody else. Don't focus on yourself.
Yeah, that's good advice right there. That's good advice. All right. I guess we're finished here. We need to get ready for the live lesson
Done all
follow.
the damage we can do here, and we need to clean up and make a different mess in about 20 minutes.
Yeah. And for those of you who are going to be joining us for tonight's class, we are going to be working with oils, and Ashley's going to start painting tonight.
Yes.
Yeah. So those of you who are members, we'll see you over there in just a few minutes. For the rest of you, remember you can join right now. Link in the description below. And also don't forget to check out TVI TV over at thevirtualinstructor.com. Just click on the live tab and you'll see options right underneath the main menu to go to TVI TV and also Gettin Sketchy. So you can go check out at least the past the last 6 seasons, and also the most recent stream that we did, which is this tonight. So anyway, guys, have a great week and stay safe and healthy. Ashley, got anything else?
I would just say the same. I guess we'll see you next week. That's right. This isn't our last episode. But if you're finishing up your last minute Christmas shopping, just know that I haven't started. So we're in that same boat together.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. With that, we're going to go ahead and sign out for this evening. Good night, everybody.